hCG Chica. Welcome back to the hCG Diet Interviews with Everyday People. This is episode 44. I have Leanne with me today. We have a lot of neat stuff to talk about. She has a couple recipes that she's going to share on the blog later. You guys can go find. And she's lost 130 pounds with hCG injections now, which is amazing. It's just a huge feat. And so we're just going to kind of talk about both her successes and also the struggles, because we know that obviously there's no way that journey has been easy. So we'll talk about what's been hard about it and where she's at and all that stuff. Just we want to get the real stuff. So welcome, Leanne.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, well, I always like to just dive right in and get started. So tell us just as many basic stats as you can, your age, your height, how your sizing has changed.
Okay, so I'm 5'6". I have not revealed my starting weight yet, and I don't really want to do that until I hit my actual goal. Yeah. I know it's just a number, but it's just a horrible number, and I really don't want to go there. However, I'm 49 years old, and I started the hCG May of 2015, and when I started, I was wearing size 26, 28. Which was the largest that you could get at a plus size store. I mean, I know online you can go and buy bigger, right. But it was getting very scary because, you already feel limited when you go into the plus size stores, and then to find that, you might have to even go a step further, and it's just a horrible feeling.
Running out of options. Yeah.
Right. And they're just not cute, and, and there's so much more money, which is pet peeve of mine. Yeah. So I just had to do something, and now at 130 pounds down, I can actually walk into a store and buy a large shirt off the rack.
That's awesome.
And that's wonderful. It's just a incredible feeling. I remember one shopping trip. I don't like to try clothes on in the store typically, so I was just grabbing a few things, and I came home, and 9 times out of 10, most of it goes back.
Yeah.
Every single piece I tried on, I was like, it fits. It was the weirdest thing. Just so weird. I kept everything. And it was just
awesome.
an incredible moment.
You're like, this has never happened before.
I have been overweight since 9 years old.
Wow.
It had just kept creeping up. And to be able to sit here, 40 years later.
Wow.
And I don't hesitate now grabbing something off the rack or ordering something online. And it's just a wonderful, that in itself is just a wonderful feeling.
That is so awesome. Thanks for sharing that too. That must have been, you'll just always remember that,
Right.
That's awesome.
Of course, I tend to shop a little bit more now.
Yeah, right. Now that can get you in trouble with your finances, but
right.
But that's okay.
Right. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, great. Yeah, so that's a huge change. So you said the 26, 28 was kind of where you were starting, and now you're like a 16, 18 size.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yep.
Awesome.
Yep. Amazing.
That is huge. That's just such a big change,
right.
Inches, many inches.
Right. Yes. And that's one thing I was really bad about. Because I always felt I'd never get the same spot when I would remeasure.
Gotcha.
So I just never truly measured, but
yeah.
So
it's, you're a lot smaller. Yeah. Just with your clothes shopping, that's the proof all that you need. So yeah. Right. And you said you're 49 years old?
Yes.
And then how about your health? Is there any health stuff you have or?
No, I do have a thyroid issue that kind of comes and goes.
Really?
And they put me on a thyroid pill, but currently I'm not taking anything.
Yeah.
It has not been, it's been very short term, so it's not something that I've had to deal with.
Yeah.
Luckily, being overweight for so long, I did not have a lot of medical issues. My cholesterol would be high at times, especially when I wasn't watching what I was eating. Yeah. But if I was watching what I was eating, I could actually almost fool the test and get the number to come down.
Gotcha.
But it was never enough, because it would just pop right back up again. Blood pressure, I actually have low blood pressure. So I was just very lucky, and I knew that. I thought, boy, one day the doctor's going to say to me, you need to, you're getting older just in general, and you can't you can't keep doing this to your body,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
The one thing that I do notice is, or I wonder when I had hit, you know, like when you lose the 40 pounds, you pick up the 40-pound bag of dog food or whatever, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is what I've lost. And then, oh, 80 pounds, that's 2 of these. And then when I hit 100, I was like, how did I function?
Right.
How did I function before?
Right.
Because that's a lot, you know, and I think
Yeah.
about taking stairs, getting out of bed, just
Right.
all those things that we take for granted.
Yeah.
And it's just an incredible amount of weight to
Well,
to
it's
move
a whole
around.
person. Yeah.
Yeah,
You've
yeah,
lost a whole person, you know?
right.
And yeah, I know that is amazing. 'Cause I weigh about 132 pounds. So
See,
you've lost
that's
all of me.
that's crazy.
I'm gone. In this case, it's good. Yeah. So I know, and it just it affects everything too. I was thinking, like things must feel easier for you. Just kind of maybe even simple activities might feel different for you.
Yeah, yeah. It's just, you know, I think about how I'm not out of breath when I have to take the stairs, or, I mean, seriously, just doing the slightest task, or cleaning the house. You know, with
Right.
15 minutes, I'm breaking a sweat, but now I can go longer, and, you know,
Right.
just all that stuff that you don't think about. And
Yeah.
now I can look back and say, wow, you know, these are all good, positive, you know, non-scale victories.
Right.
They're all just really positive things that you have to just appreciate.
Right. Yeah, I was kind of thinking about how I think like subconsciously there's a lot of things when we're overweight that we end up like not doing because either it's going to be really uncomfortable because of our weight, even though maybe we're not consciously thinking that. But like for instance, doing certain outdoor type sport things like hiking or something like certain things, it's actually just way harder when you have all that extra fat to carry. And then,
Right.
like, you know, your fit husband is like, well, why don't you like hiking? It's like,
Right.
well, because it's
Right.
way harder for me than you know? So it's like there's things that like you avoid not because you don't actually like the activity, but because in the current state you're in, it's actually it would be uncomfortable and not fun for anybody, you know?
Right.
And so I've thought
Right.
about that too, how when we lose weight, there's like different activities or hobbies that all of a sudden we actually might find ourselves really enjoying, you know? Too.
Absolutely. That's
Yeah.
very true. Yes.
Yeah, kind of a funny thing. So, you know, we're gonna get into all sorts of stuff, but just as you were talking, I was wondering to myself, it sounds like, so you said you spent most of your life overweight, or have you done a lot of yo-yo dieting, or it sounds like mostly not, like a couple attempts, but mostly overweight, or just
I've
curious?
done a lot of yo-yo dieting,
Okay.
but probably no more than 20, 30 pounds at a time.
Gotcha.
I had two what I call successful diets. One was 54 pounds and the
Okay.
other one was 83 pounds.
Gotcha.
And those were maybe 5 years ago and probably 10 years ago. But the problem is it all came back
Gotcha.
and then some, you know. And
Gotcha.
one of them was a liquid diet, which, you know, those are no good. That was, you know, 4 months of nothing but drinking.
Yeah.
And the other one was more of a, like the 30-20, the protein, just
Okay.
measuring everything
Like the
out.
zone or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But,
Yeah.
you know, they didn't last. They didn't stick.
So what feels different this time? Like you said, this sounds like this is the first time that you've lost like such a large chunk of weight. Like what's made it more doable for you this time, do you think? There's probably a few things.
I think, you know, whatever goes on in our brains that can carry us through anything that's difficult, it was on.
Yeah.
You know, whatever that is. And I've
Yeah.
always said if I could just figure out what that is, I'd be thin. You know, I'd be
Yeah.
able to do this all the time. But
Yeah.
it's very hard to figure out what that is. And the great thing about hCG is that typically it's a constant loss.
Right.
You know, every day or every week you can look back and you can see that you're making progress.
Right.
And I also think taking those breaks in between and kind of, you know, you're on P2, which I like the P2 structure,
Yeah.
but then you get to go to P3. So you're like, okay, I'm ready to try a few things, but it's almost not long enough to get too crazy.
Right.
Because I was very diligent about adding in very slowly. So by the
Gotcha.
time your 6 weeks is up, you haven't really had a whole lot of playtime. And then you get to do the favorite, which is loading, for a couple days, and then you're back to P2. So I just think I was in the groove,
Gotcha.
and it just worked out. However, these last 2 rounds, that switch is like dimming,
Yeah.
It's like,
Because you've been going a while.
yeah. So I thought, I just need a break and step away from this and try to maintain, because that's the ultimate goal is, to maintain any of it.
Yeah.
So we'll see how I do, because I think I had told you I'm going to try to just maintain until the end of December.
Yeah.
And then give it one more, because I still want to lose 40.
Yeah.
So to be at my goal.
Gotcha. So you have about 40 more you want to lose. That sounds like a wise idea, having like a 3 months off, like you said, to maintain, because you've already done so tell everybody how many rounds you've done. I don't think we covered that.
It was 6 rounds, 5 long, 1 short.
Okay, so for everyone who doesn't know, the longer rounds are typically about 6 weeks. Is that about what you did?
Yes.
And then the shorter rounds are about 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
You used injections, right?
Correct.
With 150 to 175 IU. Dosage, you guys, is very individual. You can go to my blog post, hcgchica.com/dosage, to read all about that. It's really important to not being hungry. But yeah, so you've already had several successful P3s.
Yes.
Maintaining. So it's kind of like you do know the keys there. We're going to talk more about that in a little bit. Yeah, so just basically doing that for a few months this time. Huh.
Yes. Yeah. And indulging a little bit and kind of playing around with that, because, again, real life, there's going to be things where, you go to an event or a birthday party or a barbecue. And I mean, yes, I've declined food before, I've had my snack before, gone to the party, but it is nice to be able to, eat and drink and do what everybody else is doing within reason.
Right.
The difference now is if I do waver or however you want to word it, I expect the gain.
Yeah.
And if I can catch it, in the old days, I would just, okay, that was my cheat meal, so I'm just going to have another cheat meal. And then that cheat meal becomes a cheat day, and then a cheat week, and then a cheat month. Right. And then you wonder why have 20 pounds come back?
Yeah, right.
So I've learned that I'm catching myself sooner, so I'm correcting it sooner.
Cool.
Which makes me feel more in control.
Great, yeah.
Which is key, because I'm an emotional eater, and that emotion could go the complete opposite direction, and I could be sitting here with a tub of ice cream, happy in the moment, very upset in the next.
Right, yeah, I have to live with it later. No, that's such a good thing that you mentioned too, because I think making that mental shift, I think actually probably a lot of women do that, because that's definitely what I did too, where, yeah, exactly, because you had, like you said, a cheat meal or ate something you kind of felt like you shouldn't have, then that becomes the reason that you eat more stuff that isn't good for you. And it's like, I don't know why we do that, but we do, So it's great, like you said, instead just being like, okay, so I know what might happen as a result, and then now I'm going to make this adjustment to compensate, and then that's okay.
Right. Yeah. And I absolutely do not recommend doing that on P2. I mean, yes. I was solid on my rounds. Yeah. I mean, I like I said, it was pretty amazing. The last round, though, I was starting to feel that it was getting harder, and I didn't want to take the injections and kind of mess with the system. It's like, it's expensive. Right. And I didn't want to mess anything up, because it had worked for me. Right. So I don't want to. And I know there's people out there. It's hard. This is so hard. I mean, we know this, but I didn't want to just keep taking the injections and keep eating the wrong foods. Right. So I just thought I need to make the break and kind of revisit it and refocus.
I think that's so smart. That's because then you don't undo everything that you did. So because there's nothing wrong with taking a break. That's the thing. I think sometimes we feel like, well, I started, so we need to keep going. But yeah, it's. I'm going to actually turn the volume down a little bit here. Yeah, but it's not about that. It's the pace that actually brings you success, whatever that is.
Right.
Yeah.
And part of me, when I got to the 130, I actually, at one point, I got to 150 for like a minute. I had lost 150 pounds, and I don't know if I think it was my P3. It's kind of, you have those first few days of adjustment.
Yeah.
And so I kind of just balanced out at the 130, and which I was totally fine with that. But then I started overthinking it, and I was like, okay, so you want to lose 40 more pounds, and oh my gosh, why are you struggling now? So then I just started analyzing myself, and oh, you're getting too close to goal. You must have some emotional baggage that, and I just started playing this game, like you're getting so close, don't mess it up.
Yeah.
So I tried to reverse that, like, okay, we're not going to go there.
Yeah.
It's okay to take the break. That's a long time.
Yeah.
So, hopefully I can get these 40
I think
pounds
you will.
off.
In fact, actually, there's another gal that I'm going to be interviewing in the near future. I think she actually is at her goal now, and she's being a fitness instructor, I think. But she did the same thing. She took like almost I don't know, a while off, and I think it had to do with, I can't remember now all the details, but she had to kind of take a break with her journey, but it was fine, and then she did re-pick it back up, and it was fine, So
That's great.
yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, no, I think it's totally doable. I think it's just like when you make that life change, because like you've done your successful P3s, and like just kind of knowing how to eat, no matter you're this way or 40 pounds less, you're gonna be living a different way now. I think is really what it's all about. Really, regardless of what you weigh, your life is different now.
Yes. Yes.
So yeah. So why don't we talk about just maybe your history with becoming overweight. You mentioned you've been overweight since you were 9. Like, where did that start? Where did that come from?
So when I was 9, we had moved to a different house. I had a lot of, there was divorce in the family. There was alcohol in the family. Unfortunately, just, all that negative stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm a middle child, and there were issues with my older sister. And when she would act up instead of getting into all of that, I would be like, well, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be the good, I was so concerned about her that I was trying to be the good one. And I had this little brother that I was trying to take care of and protect.
Wow.
And, when you're 9, drinking's bad, drinking's bad, that smoking's bad, drugs are bad, but food we have to eat.
Right.
So I ate.
Yeah.
And I obviously didn't know what I was doing.
Sure.
But that is how it started.
Gotcha.
And when all of the distress in the house, it just caused me to hide and eat. And to this day, I'm a closet eater.
Yeah.
That's just how it is. I would be horrified at my previous weight to go sit in a restaurant and clean my plate.
Mm.
It's that everyone's looking at me type of thing.
Yeah.
But being an emotional eater and a closet eater, what I did behind closed doors, it was just totally different.
Gotcha. Yeah. You mentioned too that there was something you remembered, a memory when you were 9, that you want to just share.
Yeah.
That you just remembered recently.
Yes. And it's embarrassing, but I'm going to share it because I had hid this. I totally just hid this memory.
Yeah.
Again, I was 9 years old, and my mom used to send me up to the grocery store for whatever random things. It was just a short city block that I'd walk to, and
yeah.
I don't remember the specific day if there was something that triggered it, but I actually stole ice cream sandwiches.
Yeah.
And went into the fitting room, and I ate them.
Oh. Yeah.
This memory came back to me, and I was like,
almost
oh my
40
gosh.
years later.
I'm sorry?
Almost 40 years later, you remember?
Right.
Wow.
And it makes me think oh my gosh, if a psychiatrist could get a hold of me,
yeah.
That was a huge,
Aww.
to me, I just couldn't believe it, because I was like, oh my gosh, that is how that is the impact that food had on me. I mean,
Right.
obviously I knew it's not right to steal,
Yeah, but it's just
you
like
know.
so comforting and you felt so pressured that like you needed to get your hands on it. And of course you had no
Right.
money, so I was like,
Right. Right. And I just thought, oh my gosh, what?
wow,
And I mean,
interesting.
I know, I know what it's like to be that emotional eater and the binge eater and the closet eater.
Yeah.
And it's, I mean, it's just, it's embarrassing. And I know there's other people out there that have the same,
Oh
you
yeah.
know, feelings,
Yeah.
but
No, I mean, I think yeah, I mean, the more we talk about stuff, like when I talk with different people, like so many people always end up resonating with it. I think that's the one nice thing about the online community where as people get more brave and are willing to share more, where they're like not sure, like, am I the only one? I don't know. And then they do share it, and then they find out actually there's a ton of people that have dealt with this, you know. It's like for me, like with binge eating, I didn't have that when I was younger, but then I did start having an issue with it. It kind of was for me. It was a way to cope with health problems I had developed, and I guess yeah, if you call it a closet eater, but yeah, it's the same thing. Where there's no way I would have eaten certain things that I would go get and eat in front of anyone, like for sure, because it just was so much donuts or so much cake or
right,
so much cookies that like
right,
if someone saw you eating that, they would be like, "You have a problem," which I
exactly,
did, you know.
right,
But I wasn't ready to address that. I just wanted to eat it. So,
yes, yes,
yeah. So I would do that in my car, or I mean, I've actually pulled stuff like this is embarrassing for me. I've eaten like most of a container of cookies and then thrown it away like because I actually did get full and felt sick, like okay, I'm gonna throw it away so I don't eat anymore, and I literally have gone later, like an hour later, and pulled it out of the garbage and eaten the rest,
right,
like our big garbage like that stinks. I mean, like like it's just it's but
right,
people do that, like
right,
because it's an addiction. It's and like you said, it's a comfort thing. For me it was
right,
because of my health. Like I lost a lot. I wasn't able to do, not to make this about me, this is about you, but
okay,
just to kind of say that your story is, you're not alone, because I
right,
wasn't able to do all the things that I used to love to do as a result of my health changing. And I kind of was left with nothing like fulfilling anymore that I could do. And except eat, like, oh, eating doesn't make me tired.
right,
And sugar gives you that dopamine feeling. So like more and more of that was like a way to feel like happy for a little bit.
right,
So
right,
yeah, it's
right.
a weird thing. So for you, it started really young though, and I think for a lot of women, it's been the same, very or similar
Right,
causes.
right. Yeah, and it just kind of crept up over the years, and my my family, like a lot of them are overweight, so it wasn't like any, I wasn't ridiculed for it,
Yeah,
but I don't know that they really tried to help either.
right,
But I mean, I don't think they knew what we know now. I mean,
right,
we just know so much more now.
right,
Um, so
right.
just, and I didn't know enough, you know, being, that age, and
No, I mean
I
you
just,
have no
you know,
idea. You just know that it tastes good and it feels good, right? Like it
right,
helps you feel better.
right,
So that's all you know.
right.
Yeah. So, well, why don't we transition now into just actually being on phase two? How did you actually sorry, bleh. How did you originally discover the protocol, first of all?
So I have periodically gone to therapy just to kind of um, talk about why I eat, and to learn different ways to cope. And I had gone to this new therapist, and we were randomly talking about I was getting these leg cramps, and I was like, I don't know why I'm getting these leg cramps. It's really weird. And she said, well, you must be low on magnesium. And okay, didn't know that. And she's like, you got to call this doctor. And they were this doctor in town, and I looked on their website, and it was all about hCG and vitamins. And so I went in and made the appointment and read the pounds and inches, and I thought, I have nothing. I mean, I'll try anything once. So I
Right.
was like, let's do this.
Yeah.
And and it was just a wonderful, wonderful find. I mean, I know there's a lot to it, and you do have to
Yeah.
be committed to it,
Yeah.
but totally worth it, and I'm forever grateful, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, you're really rewarded, even though it's like you said, a
Yeah.
little bit work. You're really rewarded well for your time if
Sure.
you do it. Yeah.
Sure.
Tell us a little bit about like being on phase two, maybe like just when you first started, how did it feel? You know, some of the positives, some of the difficulties of it for you personally.
Um, so I know a lot of people go through like a detox type of thing. I didn't have, the only thing I can remember is I was just really tired the first day. I just kind of moped around. Other than that, I maybe had a headache. I mean, but there was nothing really worth mentioning. I mean, there was just,
Yeah.
it was smooth, really. Um, I enjoy the protocol because there's not a lot to choose from, and I'm not good with, when you give me too many options, it's too hard for me.
Yeah.
So I loved that part of it, you know,
Gotcha.
and I
Yeah.
would write everything down. I would have apps on my phone where I could track my weight, my water, my meals. So I just wrote everything down and just watched videos and
Yeah.
read books
Yeah.
and just, you know, gained all the information that I could. And
That's
then,
great.
like I said, meeting people. I mean, there's just so many people out there
Yeah.
that are doing this and they are willing to share. And we all, at one time or another, you know, when you're on a round, you're either having a really good round or a really bad round, but we've all been there. You
Yeah.
know, we can all say that, you know, we've had good days, bad days.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Where have you been finding like your best sources to interact with people about the diet that are also doing it?
Um, we have a
For
very
others.
active Facebook page that I follow. And then the YouTube community has been wonderful. And from that YouTube community, we actually have a Fitbit group now where some of
Cool.
us have kind of transitioned into, you know, making sure that we get our steps in.
Yeah.
So it's great. And I've
That's cool.
actually met somebody who lives in South Carolina.
Yeah.
So it's just crazy. But
Cool.
it's wonderful. I mean, it's a good crazy.
That's good. How did you find, because, you know, for others who want to keep, you know, also finding people, you know, to interact with as well, how did you end up finding people on YouTube that were doing the diet?
Well, my boyfriend he watches YouTube videos all day,
Yeah.
if he could, but he
Yeah.
watches them a lot. And so I had come home from the doctors and mentioned this hCG, and he was like, well, let's look it up. There's got to be
Right.
something out there. And
Yeah.
then, I mean, you put hCG in there
Right.
in the search bar, and it just explodes,
Mm-hmm.
and it just grew from there.
That's
It
great.
just grew from there. And then he encouraged me to start making some videos. So it was just one thing after another. It just kind of grew. So,
Oh, and that reminds me, you made a YouTube video with your results so far. So
yeah.
we'll make sure for you guys that we'll link to that in the show notes so you guys can see her, you know, more pictures and stuff and her talk about that. And yeah, same thing when I did my journey. It's been a little while ago now, of course, but yeah, YouTube was very instrumental in that. And nowadays, because some of them are really old, you can find like if you search hCG like 2016 or
Mm,
VLCD hCG 2016, you can kind of find like some blogs that are more current or whatever year it is when you're watching
yeah.
this.
Yeah.
And then if you look in the comments, usually people commenting on other people's blogs are also people who are currently actively doing hCG. So then you can
Correct.
go find them and follow them.
Right.
And
Right.
definitely, you know, start watching the vlogs, commenting on the vlogs. And then, you know,
Right.
if you want to get some reciprocal support, you know, give it first. And then,
Right.
yeah,
I've had people comment, and then they will send me a private message on Facebook,
cool.
and they're just kind of looking for that kind of support, and that's fine too. I mean,
Yeah.
it's whatever,
Right.
you know, people want.
Yeah.
It's everyone is at their own comfort level.
Yes.
So, I mean, I would have never thought in a million years that I would be doing this, but
Yeah.
I thought, okay.
It's really helpful, you know?
It
Yeah.
really is. It really is.
Instagram too, actually, for those of you guys who are more Instagrammers. There's a lot of hCG accounts on there, so you can go follow that. If you go to my Instagram, hCG Chica, and I think I don't know if you can see like who's liked some of my pictures, but there will be a lot of
Okay.
current hCG users, so you can go and follow them and see how they're
Okay.
doing. And because I agree, like this isn't the type of protocol that you usually tell all your friends and family about, you know?
Right.
So finding that way to let out and just communicate and get that support, they're great ways, you know? So,
Right.
yeah, that's
Right. And
good.
I'm a very private person. So when I started this, I told very few people that I was
Yeah,
injecting my body and eating 500 calories because
yeah,
I'm like, I don't even want to go there.
right.
But then, after you start losing, it's like the proof is there.
Exactly.
The proof is there and you
Right.
can't
Mhm.
you can't deny it.
Right.
And I'm an example of that. If you go off, you're going to gain. You're going to gain those 10 pounds, and then you're going to have to figure out how you're going to lose that.
Right.
But what I've learned is that it can be done.
Yeah.
It can very be done. So
Yeah. No, those are great tips. So for phase two, when it comes to like eating, it sounds like you pretty much did stick to the original protocol.
yes.
What did you like to eat on phase two, and how did you prep things to make it easier to be successful?
So I the P2 chili, I still, and a year and some months later, I still make it every weekend just about. And I divvy it up into 5 portions and I freeze it. And so when I go to work every day, I just grab a container so I don't even have to think about it. And
Yeah,
it's got my vegetables in it, it's got my protein, it's got, all that I need.
nice.
And then I would cook chicken on the weekends, or we would grill it. And because that's something that you can eat cold, you can shred it into a salad.
Yeah.
And I would have fresh vegetables, or I would do asparagus and fish would be
Ooh,
like another quick meal. So
gotcha.
really those were my staples,
Yeah,
just the chicken, the chili, and every so often I'd have the fish.
awesome. And Leanne
Simple.
said that she'll get us the recipe for the chili. Um, so you guys, it'll be in the blog post notes. So this is episode 44. You can just put that in the search bar at the bottom of my blog, or if you're on mobile, there's a little search icon at the top. Just put episode 44, and you'll find the recipe for the chili. That sounds so good. How
Yes.
about now? You mentioned like you have salads and stuff. I always found like the most challenging thing on P2 was dressings. Like trying to make a
Yeah.
salad like taste okay when you can't use oil. Like what did you do?
So I would use 2 tablespoons of salsa,
Oh yeah, good idea.
because you can do that.
Yeah.
Or I would just doctor up the apple
Yeah.
cider vinegar with water and
Nice.
ton of spices and choke it down.
Yeah, yeah. That's
Right.
good. No, you're right.
Right.
Salsa makes everything better.
Right.
And it gives
Right.
that liquidity stuff that you need.
Yes.
Awesome. Those are great tips. Awesome. Um, how about with phase three now? Why don't we move on to that? Do you want to just share some things that have been successful for you and how you eat in phase three, stuff like that?
So for P3, I just added very slowly. But of course, there was bacon. That was like the first treat, bacon. And then cheese was a very close second. And like for the cheese, it would be great to put on the chili, so it made my chili that much better.
Yeah.
And, so we'd have eggs and bacon, and you put a little bit of cheese in there, and always had the onion. I put onion in just about everything, because that's another freebie type of thing.
Right.
And what else? Oh, Ezekiel bread. That I didn't add that for quite a few rounds, but once I discovered it,
Yeah.
that was a pretty good discovery.
Cool.
Like a couple pieces a week, I couldn't go crazy. But then they have those tortillas, which would make like pizza crust. So
Okay.
I would make pizzas for P3.
Okay.
And I mean, those are pretty huge, and you just
Yeah.
fill them up with vegetables. And so, yeah, those were
Awesome.
very filling too.
Very cool. And it sounds like, did you actually count calories when you would do P3 or no? Just like stick with the right types of foods?
I didn't on a regular basis, but every so often, just as a check, I would
Yeah.
make sure, especially once you start adding in the cheeses, because it's full fat,
Right.
and so there's just so much more calories in those.
Right.
So I would just do a check every so often to make sure. But obviously the scale's your real check.
Right.
If
That's
it's,
true.
going up, then, you need to adjust. But
Right.
knock on wood, pretty
Yeah.
good.
I'm curious, do you mind sharing like about how many calories were okay for you when you would check or
Um, I want to say 1800.
okay, cool.
I think it was 1800. So
Gotcha.
that was,
Yeah.
and that's actually, when you're eating the 500 calories, that's huge. You're like, what
Yeah.
else can I possibly eat today?
Right.
But
No, no, 1800 is a very yeah, because I mean, how much you can eat is going to be dependent on so many factors, right? It's like it's going to be dependent on your metabolism, on your current height, and your weight, and your activity level and all that. But it's nice to give people an idea of what's possible because a lot of people feel kind of trapped to eating 11 or 1200 calories like forever. And
right,
I'm trying to help
right,
people see that you actually can train your body to eat more than that in most cases.
sure.
I eat about 2,000 or a little more every day. So,
I bet you are very heavy on the protein though, which I try to be more aware of that
yeah,
because that's really going to help us the most, in
right?
my opinion.
Yeah,
On P3 as well, because we could get breakfast then. So
yeah,
I would do like hard boiled eggs because it was easy to bring to work. So
yeah,
mid morning, I would, have one of those. And it really did help to where my stomach wasn't growling as early as it usually was.
yeah.
So then the more rounds I was on, I was really starting to pay attention
Cool.
to my hunger.
Good.
And there were times when I never got to that 1800, but I was like, you know what? That's okay
Yeah,
because this is life. And
right,
why eat if my body's not asking for food?
right. Yeah.
So,
No, that's so
so
smart
just,
because your energy needs do vary from day to day, you know? I
right.
found the same thing. There's actually, because I don't know if you've heard me talk about intermittent fasting, but I do still intermittent fast
Yeah.
periodically. There's days when fasting for me is so easy, it's not a problem, so I do it. There's days when I attempt to fast, like okay, I want to do a fast day today, and it's noon, and I am like, I can't stop thinking about food. I'm so hungry. It's very distracting. I'm agitated, and so I don't
Right.
fast. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, for whatever reason, my body cannot handle this today, and it needs
Yeah.
food. Like I'm like a cat, like
Right. Right.
so yeah, so I do think it's true. You have to listen to your body in that way, and both ways. That's good. Those are. Would you say that? I know you again. I know you weren't counting, but with phase three, since you talked about adding in foods slowly, like one at a time, do you feel like most likely your calorie amount gradually went up over the phase three period?
Yes. Yes, I do.
Yeah. It
Yep.
seems to be what works the best for most people. I'm designing a phase three meal plan right now, and that's pretty
Yes.
much the premise that I'm doing. I'm starting out, which is kind of hard because I'm thinking about how much I eat every day. So like the first week of phase three, I'm designing at a lower calorie, and it's like, is this going to be enough? But it's a gradual increase because that's what seems to be the best for people to
Right.
stabilize.
Well, you're also, again, your brain is looking at this, your eyes are looking at this food like, oh my gosh, I haven't had you in, weeks.
Yeah.
You just want to have it all.
Yep.
So,
It's true.
slow and steady.
Yeah,
Slow and
exactly.
steady.
And you mentioned also like with nuts being addictive, they've gotten you into trouble more than once, huh?
Oh my gosh, right.
That's
Because so
true.
P3 we can have nuts, but I mean a handful, and
Yeah.
that doesn't exist for me.
Yeah, I know.
It
No,
just
me
doesn't.
too. Yeah, they're very nuts and cheese are very I've learned so much actually from doing this whole recipe meal plan and like designing the recipes with this recipe creator, like going back and forth, like because we're actually checking all the macros of stuff, and I'm like, okay, wait, this meal doesn't have enough protein. And in order to make the calories okay, we have to take out more fat or something. And I've realized that certain foods do not work well unless you're at a higher calorie balance because they're just so
Yes.
calorie dense. And like nuts is one
Yes.
of those foods. And a
Yes.
lot of times
Yes.
I realized that um, while I think food sensitivities can play a role in stabilizing, I think sometimes actually what it is really just overeating those foods because it's just like you said, I'm like, wow, I can only use a teaspoon of this,
Right.
like, and this that's
Right.
almost not worth it.
Right. What's
you
the
know?
point?
Yeah, and later when your calories are higher, it's like you can kind of fit it in, but you do have to be aware of it, you know? And I wasn't
Right.
very aware before.
Right. So sometimes I just don't even bring them in.
Yeah.
It's like there's been P3s when it's like, nope, not even going to go there because
Yeah.
it's just not worth it.
Yeah.
It's just not. But
Because there are a
I mean,
lot of
you
foods you can eat more of, so.
right, right. So you just gotta, if they're not in the house, you won't think about it. But yes,
Yeah.
you can have so much more of something else. And
Yeah. And then there's the other side, like you mentioned, like you love cheese and adding that in, where you can, just adding a little bit of that can actually make your meals so much yummier, like you
oh
said
yeah,
with chili.
right,
Yeah, and you realize, like,
right,
oh, you know what, just a tablespoon of some shredded cheese is not going to overdo things, and it totally does make this meal way yummier, you know?
right, right.
So,
And the things like the salad. So P3, we can start to mix our vegetables. Well,
yeah,
you can have a huge salad, and then now that you're in P3, you can add the oil to the apple cider vinegar,
yes,
which makes it,
so much better.
even that right.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's lots of good things about P3.
Yeah, no, that's good. Thanks for sharing all that. That's great. Well, so what have been your tools then for, maintaining your weight loss between rounds outside of what we already talked about? Are there any other like kind of importance that have been helpful for you?
For me, I just always need to prep and plan. If I don't have the food in the house and pretty much ready to just grab and go,
Yeah,
that creates a problem.
gotcha.
That creates, you're not even thinking. You're thinking, well, I'm going to go to the drive-through. Well, that's the
Yeah,
worst place for us
right.
on hCG,
Yeah,
or trying to maintain. And so for me, it's just all about prepping still,
cool.
to this. That's just my personality anyway.
Yeah,
Um, so, and I still don't trust myself. An open bag is an empty bag still to this day.
yeah,
And so I just need to not have it in the house.
right.
And I do a lot of positive affirmations, positive self-talk.
Yeah,
It's just not important. It's
right.
food,
Yeah.
it's not, I mean, yes, we need it, but we don't need as much. And so there's just a lot of self-talk going on in this head.
Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah, and I'm actually a little bit like you too. For me, it's better to just not have certain things in the house. Yeah, like if there's an open bag of chips, like because I can't eat chips, I'm in phase four. I mean, I will eat them all, like most of the time, like are a lot of them. So it's just like
Right,
I only get them on occasion, just because they're just so snacky.
right,
So
right. But now another thing I've learned, I try to test myself, so I've played with the, well, how hungry are you?
yeah,
I've done that game, and now it's almost like, okay, I'm trying to leave something on the plate or leave something in the bag. And I mean, it sounds so simple to some people,
yeah,
but it's not.
hmm
It's not simple to
it's
me.
not, yeah,
So that's one of the things that I'm going to be working on between now and my next round. It's like,
that's cool.
okay, purposely put so much on your plate,
Yeah,
but purposely leave something.
yeah,
You know,
no, it's a
just
great
those
exercise.
little changes,
Yeah.
I think will make a difference.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. That's awesome. You also mentioned something about weighing daily, that's helpful for you. Do you want to just touch on that?
Yes, it just is because, if you skip a day, again, it's like when you have that cheat meal, you skip one weigh day, then you skip the next weigh day and the third, and then before you know it, your things are not feeling right. It was like, oh, I feel bloated, my clothes are fitting tight.
Yeah,
Get
yeah,
on the scale, just get on the scale, face it,
yeah,
and let's fix it and move on.
yeah,
So, and
yeah. Because you
that's
can
just
fix
that's
it.
just me. Yeah,
How do
right.
you like? So since you know that, what do you typically do? And we're guys again. I think we're talking phase three type, phase four type
hmm
stuff here. What would you typically do to kind of make an adjustment following the scale being higher?
I make sure I get in my water, which I'm very good about my water. But I just push it, push it, push it. I add some lemon to it, and I will do detox baths. I
Yeah,
don't know. I'm sure
yeah,
most people know what those are.
cool.
And I go back to P2.
Yeah,
I go back to P2 foods, and if I feel that I need that morning meal,
yeah.
that's when I'll have a couple hard-boiled eggs, because
Gotcha.
what I've read, that's our best balanced protein, and it's just easy too.
Yeah.
So, and that's what I'll do for a few days, and
Cool.
really it corrects itself.
Yeah. So you just basically
It
have a
corrects
few
it.
really lower calorie days to
Yep.
compensate. Cool. Yeah.
Yep.
No, that's actually great, and that's very similar to what something that I would do. Like if I do a fast day, it's like I'm eating dinner still, but I'm not eating breakfast and lunch. So it ends up making a lower calorie day than it would have been, and it helps
Yes.
compensate. You know. Cool.
Yeah.
That's very,
Yep.
that's very helpful. Um, do you have any memories of like your life pre-HCG that's different now, like where you noticed a big I know you actually already shared one, which was the clothing and like actually
Right.
liking everything that fit, but you mentioned the plane.
Right. I recently went to South Carolina, and even at that moment, I was worried that I wasn't going to fit in the seat. Like 10 years prior to that, I was on a plane and it was tight.
Wow.
But 10 years ago, I wasn't at my highest weight. So I know, had I done this a year ago when I first started HCG,
Yeah.
I mean, it would have been horrific.
Mhm.
And I mean, things like even going to a movie theater, those seats are tight.
Yeah.
Just all those things that people take for granted. Turnstiles. It's the enemy.
Oh, that's true.
The
Yeah.
enemy.
Man.
You know? So just all those things that, you know, like you were saying, when somebody's activities now are just so different.
Yeah.
Where before, if someone said, let's go do this, I'd have to think, okay, well, what is it going to take?
Right.
Is there going to be a turnstile? Are the seats going to be big enough?
Yeah.
Just all those thoughts that an overweight person has to have.
Yeah. And it's almost like
Because
there's all these opportunities where you're gonna end up feeling bad about yourself in all those
exactly,
moments, which sucks.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I had to take 3 planes to get there and 3 planes back, and it was fun by the end. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, I
You're
can
like,
do
I
this.
am no athlete.
Right, right.
That's
So,
funny.
and I was very grateful for that, you know,
Yeah.
and that's, you know, when I experience something like that, I have to really focus on that and be grateful for it, because I have not had, it's just been, I've never had that opportunity.
Yeah.
And think about it, I can go anywhere I want now.
Yeah.
Where a year and a half ago, I wouldn't have
Wow.
dreamed of getting on a plane.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So this could be good, this could be bad. I might be taking more trips.
Again, for the finances. No.
Right, right.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's awesome. How about so these days when you like want to have a treat or something, what types of stuff do you have for treats?
So I still love ice cream.
Yeah.
I really do. Pretty good about, I mean, I don't go crazy.
Yeah.
What else? I probably, again with the nuts. I mean, if they're here,
Yeah.
but I know, you know, it's gonna come. Let's see.
Have you heard of that? So do you eat regular ice cream when you eat ice cream, like phase 4 or?
Yeah.
Have you heard of that ice cream called Halo Top?
No.
Okay, well you might want to check it out. You're like, no.
Okay.
Okay,
Tell
because
me more.
I had some the other day, and it tastes pretty real, and it does have it does have some real sugar, but it also has erythritol, so it's like
Okay.
a combination, so that it does definitely have less calories and sugar than regular ice cream, but it's not like a complete like no sugar thing, so it's like an in between, and it's pretty good. Yeah. Halo
Okay.
Top. So,
I'm
and
gonna
again,
look
you
into
guys, that
that.
would only be for phase 4, not phase
Phase
3
4.
when you're on the no starches, no sugars. Gotta make sure I'm clear with that. Definitely not
Right,
phase
right,
2, not phase 3.
right.
But yeah, so she's gonna be taking a break and having a treat now and then. And so sometimes you can find what you can have, and yeah, so it's kind of like a whole pint of it's actually really not a big deal. So
Well, that's good to know. And I know, like, you know, you can Google recipes, and there's the cloud bread. I don't know if you've heard, I'm sure you've heard of
I've
that.
heard of it. I haven't actually made it, but it's made with a lot of egg whites, right? Or something.
Right. And I've made it, and it's good. It is very eggy, but it definitely does the trick.
That's
if
Good.
you want to put a burger in between.
Awesome.
So to me, it's worth it. And then I've even
Cool.
thought of like doing stevia and cinnamon on it, for something a little
Mm,
sweet.
yeah,
So, I mean, there's things out there
there
that
are.
kind of get you through.
And you mentioned also, like, with the chocolate delight, that you have a way you make it now that you really like.
Yes. And
Yeah.
then when you're on P3, you can add nuts.
Awesome. Well, maybe we'll get the recipe for that from you too, and we'll
Yes,
put that in the
sure.
blog post for you guys.
Sure.
That'd be
Yeah,
awesome.
I'll
That's
send
cool.
that to you.
Yeah, and yeah, really, I use a lot of just like different things with stevia and make smoothies that are like my ice cream too these days, and I've gotten so used to it that I'm fine with it.
Right. I know. I'll make things and I'll say, here, taste this. And they, like, whoever's tasting it, they're like, no, it doesn't taste right.
Yeah.
I'm like, I must really have different taste buds now. And that's
They
fine
change.
because
Yeah.
it works for me. But
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, some stuff I'm like, man, this is delicious. And then they're like, no, it's not. It's really not.
Yeah, that sounds like my husband. Like he'll occasionally he hates stevia and he doesn't have to use it. So he'll
Right.
take a sip of something thinking it's something else and he's like, "What?"
Yeah.
Like, I love it. It's great.
Right. Oh my gosh. So
Yeah,
funny.
so it's true. Your taste buds change, and
Yeah.
yeah. And actually, just in the interest of being completely honest, the Halo Top, I had the one pint. It's called birthday cake flavor, and I will not be able to ever get it again because it was actually so good, like that I felt out of control. Like I felt like, oh, I would
Okay.
like to go to the store every day now and buy this. So, so, but not everyone's a sugar addict like me. So for those of you who are not sugar addicts, it's actually a great option. But yeah, also know yourself because I mean literally my brain lit up when I took the first spoonful. I was like, but also I haven't had any real ice cream in like 4 years either. So because
Oh my
I can't
gosh.
handle it.
Yeah.
I had like one spoonful about 3 years ago. My husband's pralines and cream. It was the first spoonful I'd had in a couple of years or 2 years, and I literally felt like there's fireworks that went off in my
Right.
brain, and I
Oh my
instantly
gosh.
wanted to eat like all of it. So I was like, "Whoa, I cannot handle this." So know your boundaries.
Oh my
So
gosh.
yeah,
But see, that would be good for me to test
yeah,
let's not eat the whole pint, just eat
right.
half of it.
Yeah,
The
well,
other
especially
half
if
of
you're
it.
able to have a little regular ice cream in moderation, then that shows
Yeah.
something. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and typically when I have ice cream, it's when I'm loading, but
Oh,
then I
gotcha.
have,
Sure.
a couple times I've had it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but that's a good, I like that as an option.
Yeah, it was pretty
So
good.
good, good.
Awesome. Well, just a couple more things and then I'll let you go. What factors have you noticed to play a role in people like struggling on hCG or kind of not succeeding temporarily?
I think the a big problem is our social lives. We most of us have to work. We have to interact with other people.
Hmm.
There's birthday parties, there's barbecues, although now, summer's finally over, so we don't have to worry about barbecues for a while.
Yeah.
And some people just have difficulty saying no.
Yeah.
Like when you go to somebody's house and they're like, oh, just have this one piece. It is easier to say yes. I totally agree with that.
Right.
But I guess I've just said no enough that I just stand tough. And
Yeah.
I mean, you just have to. So I think that's part of it, is that you don't want to hurt somebody's feelings, or you don't want to make a big deal that, hey, I'm on a diet. But
Right.
because then people start throwing questions at you,
Right.
and that creates a whole other set of, questions and that you're dealing with and explaining. And
Right.
so I think that's a big part of it. And then people who have to prepare meals for their family. If you're preparing high fat foods
Yeah.
for your kids or your significant other, and you're going to turn around and eat lettuce and 100 grams of beef, it's just not the same.
Right. Yeah.
So I think that adds to it. I mean, I'm lucky. At this point in my life, I just really have to worry about myself, and so I don't have to deal with that. But
Yeah.
anyway, I think the social aspect is probably the hardest for most people.
Yeah. Do you feel like you've said no enough that it got easier? Do you feel like it has gotten easier to kind of just state how it like, oh no, thank you or whatever, the more you've done it? Does it really feel like
Yes.
it's gotten easier?
Yeah. Yes,
That's
because I
good.
mean, I've seen people, they haven't seen me in a few months, or they're like, "Oh my gosh, you've lost weight." Yes, because I'm not eating everything at the
Yeah.
barbecues,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and so then they're kind of like, okay. And I mean, yes, I've yo-yo dieted enough that, one day I'm on the diet, the next day I'm off. So I can't expect them to know if I'm serious or not.
Right.
So, I don't fault them,
Right.
but it's difficult.
Yeah.
It's difficult
Yeah,
to
it's true.
stay on protocol.
Yeah. It's funny, there's a book, actually I have it right here. It's called, if you guys can see this, Better Than Before by Gretchen Rubin. Mastering the Habits of Our Everyday Lives. I really recommend. It's such a good book. I'm kind of utilizing it in my research as I'm trying to make like a little phase 2 motivational program. But in it, she talks about how, kind of from what she researched, it seems like there's kind of like people have one of four different personality tendencies, is kind of how she calls it. And one of them is called being an obliger, like a person who is motivated by what others need, in effect. And so they find it easy to say yes to other people because they're an obliger. And they find it very difficult to do what's best for them because, of course, other
Right.
people's agendas are usually in conflict with yours.
Right. Right.
And so it mentioned, and it talks about kind of ways to, create habits and create personal successes despite being an obliger, which makes it hard. And it's a really interesting read. Yeah. So,
Oh,
but I
that's
could see
good.
that coming into play when you're in a social setting and you want to make the hostess feel comfortable and you want to make them
Sure.
happy. So, yes, I'm
Sure.
going to eat what you have to offer.
Right. Right.
But
Right.
yeah, so it's
Yeah, I
interesting.
totally understand that. I mean, and then at work, I mean, where I work, I think every other day is a food day. We're celebrating something,
Yeah,
and people celebrate with the worst foods possible,
yeah. Yeah, it's
so
true. Yeah, I know it's challenging. Yeah, and so finding, I think for all you guys listening out there, the way for you to handle it, I've definitely noticed people are different. Like, it sounds like you've really kind of learned how to say no and to be in some of these situations without caving, and without it taking too much of a toll on you. And then I've seen others where really they just have to avoid situations
right,
socially because it's just so taxing emotionally that
right,
it's just creates, later you go home and eat a bunch of stuff that you shouldn't
right,
have. I do
right,
see that, and I tend to be more that way. So I think it's good to kind of figure out which boat you're in and kind of go with that.
right. And I
Um,
think when I first started, I definitely avoided. I
yeah,
worked, all my rounds around, vacations and everything that I could.
yeah,
And then, you get to a certain point where you're like, okay, I can test the waters just a little
yeah,
bit.
yeah,
And it does get to be a little bit more comfortable. And then you realize it doesn't have to surround, food isn't the end all
right.
be all,
It's true.
you
Yeah.
know.
No, you're
So
right. I mean, that's like today in my everyday life. It'll be actually 4 years next month since I've been off of hCG entirely. In November.
amazing.
Yeah, and so yeah, same thing. Like when I go to, I don't obviously avoid social functions anymore, but I still don't eat sugar. I still don't eat cookies. I still don't eat ice cream. That's just my own personal decision. I have no problem. I'm not tempted by those things. I have no problem saying no. I never would say yes. Like it's literally not an option. I just go and it's like, oh no, I can't eat that. Like it's just not an option. And it's
Right,
not hard. It's a habit. It's ingrained in my brain now. So it feels
right,
easy.
right,
So
right.
it's
Very
nice.
good.
Yeah, it's nice if you can get to that point, and it is possible. Because definitely I didn't used to feel that way.
Right,
Before it was like,
right.
oh my gosh, there's a plate of cookies. How can I eat these without everybody seeing? Like,
Right, right.
so
Or you see two kinds of pie. It's like, well, I'll get that one and you get that one, and then I'll take a taste of yours, and maybe
yeah,
you can have a taste of
yeah,
mine.
right, exactly. Oh, well,
Oh
good.
gosh.
Those are all really, really helpful things. Thank you so much, Leanne.
Good, good.
Yeah,
No, thank you. I
yeah,
appreciate it.
that was great. And I wish you the best in the rest of your journey too. Yeah, I think your break sounds great. You have the tools to maintain right now, and And then yeah, like waiting for that mentally ready thing, it's important.
Right. And I
Yeah.
feel like New Year's, it's like, okay, everyone kind of gets on the bandwagon to
Right.
do something a little more than,
Right.
it's a pretty significant goal.
Yeah.
And I figure, that's a good 4 months. And if
Yeah.
I can maintain it, then, I've said a few times on this journey that if I didn't lose another pound, I can't complain.
Right.
I mean,
Hmm.
I'm 130 pounds down.
Yeah.
I'm still considered overweight, but I'm 49 years old too.
Yeah.
So, I'm not looking to be a super skinny person,
Right.
but I am definitely, I mean,
You're
the
so
numbers
much
don't
healthier.
lie. Right. When you see the
Yeah.
doctor and he like looks at those numbers, he's like,
Yeah.
well, everything is good. He's like, I have no complaints.
Yeah.
And I have to think the same way. It's like, if
Right.
I don't lose another pound, this is fine,
Yeah, you have a
you
healthy
know?
lifestyle now,
Right. Right. And I've learned, I have learned a lot.
Yeah.
So,
That's awesome.
yeah, it's wonderful.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out today. I really appreciate
Yep.
it. It's
Thank
going to
you.
be great for everybody else. And yeah, you guys, all the links that we talked about today will be in the blog post, episode 44. And then if you guys want to listen to all the other interviews that I've done so far, you could just go on hcgchica.com. Success stories is where they're all kept, or hcgchica.com slash interviews. I'm actually not sure. But yeah, so yeah, we have lots there for you guys to keep you all motivated. Okay, until next time. Talk to you guys later.